Right, so we have some pretty solid evidence that yes, the first foldable Pixel phone is now set to arrive in 2022, but sadly, it doesn't look like it'll use the same high-end camera sensors found in the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, but let's unfold all of this information. Thanks for watching 9to5Google here on YouTube. Remember to thumbs up, hit subscribe, and then tap the bell icon to be notified about all our future uploads. So one of the biggest jumps forward for the Pixel line this year was in the camera department, where typically Google's phones would compensate for what is technically outdated camera hardware with truly impressive software, machine learning enhancements. The Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro have upgraded to a 50 megapixel rear camera setup. Beyond the cheap metric of megapixels, the Samsung GN1 sensor in the Pixel 6 series is physically larger, which allows for more light and more detailed photos as a result. For the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, Google had to compensate for that physical sensor size increase, which has led to the striking camera bar or visor, which sticks out of the phone by a few millimeters at the rear. On a traditional slab of a smartphone, this isn't a terribly big deal, depending on your design tastes anyway. For foldables though, every excess millimeter is critical, with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 measuring in at over half an inch thick when it is folded. That's a pretty good example of that in practice. To that end though, according to information our APK Insight team has discovered in files associated with the latest release of the Google Camera app, the upcoming Pixel foldable phone, codename Pipit, is set to instead use essentially the same camera sensors as last year's Pixel 5. Specifically, instead of that new Samsung GN1 sensor, the Pixel foldable will have the same 12.2 megapixel Sony IMX363 sensor that has been used since 2018's Pixel 3, which to some of you might find disappointing to hear. As you may remember, in August 2020, we were the first to report the development of a foldable Pixel phone. At the time, the work was being done under the codename Passport and was tentatively scheduled to be released in late 2021. Passport has since appeared a handful of times, including in the Google Camera app and various places in the Android 12 beta, and so we speculated based upon that evidence. At some point during development, Google seems to, or at least appears to, have shifted away from the original Passport model to a new foldable phone called Pipit. It's not exactly clear what has changed, but this sort of mid-development codename change has happened before. For example, the Pixel Slate was developed under the codename Meowth when it was planned to run on Intel's Cannon Lake processors. When those were delayed, Google rebuilt the Pixel Slate on older Intel processors as Nocturne. Back to the camera specs though, or information that we found through this Pipit foldable will feature a 12 megapixel IMX386 sensor that, if we rely on the Pixel 6's design, should be used for an ultra-wide camera. One quirk worth noting though within the code that we found is this specific camera is tagged with folded, which suggests that it would only be used when the phone is folded or closed. We'll leave this mystery to your imagination, and if you are eager to hear your stories and we're eager to hear your theories, then drop them down in the comment sections below. Meanwhile though, the first foldable Pixel will also come equipped with two 8 megapixel Sony IMX355 sensors, one tagged as inner and the other as outer. Past Pixel phones have typically used the IMX355 as a front-facing selfie camera. From this, we believe the inclusion of two identical cameras will help ensure that your foldable Pixel will take the same quality of selfies when folded or unfolded, with one of these selfie shooters on the external display and another on the internal display, which will look much like the Galaxy Fold's current setup. It's not clear at this point though whether this would be an under-display camera sensor like on the recent Galaxy Z Fold 3 or a hole punch style like you'll find on Pixel phones today and since the Pixel 4a launched in late 2020. Overall though, it looks like this first Pixel foldable will take a step down in camera quality by comparison to the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, which were released just recently. This is actually normal though for foldable phones of this form factor, especially as even the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 doesn't have the same high-end camera specs as the Galaxy S21 series. The most likely reason for this is to reduce the thickness of the phone, as phone makers are currently trying to make their foldable phones smaller and smaller each year, and a thick camera visor like on the Pixel 6 would just do the opposite. It could also be a cost-saving measure, as bigger, more expensive camera sensors also mean an ever-increasing asking price, but then again, that's pure speculation on our part. Knowing that the Pixel Foldable though is not going to use the same camera sensors as the Pixel 6, it only makes sense that Google would opt for sensors that they've used previously too. This hardware reuse allows them to reuse the machine learning models that they've crafted over the years for those cameras, which is where most of the Pixel series' photography magic more or less comes from anyway. In other files associated with the Google Camera app, we found the first real signal of when this long-awaited Pixel Fold should arrive too. Within the code, there is reference to is Pixel 2022 foldable. Generally speaking, the Google Camera app will refer to various generations of Pixel phones with these kinds of designations. For example, the Pixel 4 and 4 XL are is Pixel 2019, and the Pixel 3a and 3a XL are renamed is Pixel 2019 mid-range. This latest is Pixel 2022 foldable, all but confirms Google has plans to launch this device sometime next year, which might not come as too much of a surprise because this has been the presumed timeline since the announcement of Android 12L just a few weeks ago, which, as you probably know, is a new release of Android built with enhancements specifically for tablets and foldables, and Android 12L isn't expected to launch until at least March 2022, and it would kind of make a great deal of sense to launch a foldable Pixel on that fold-ready version. That though is all we have found so far, and they'll always show that the upcoming Android 12L builds might allow us to uncover a little more detail of this pretty highly anticipated foldable device. We do want to open the floor to you and want to ask you just what you think of this new info. Is it a bit disappointing to hear that it may have the same camera sensor and setup as a previous generation Pixel, or do you even care whatsoever? Let us know down in the comment sections below, but until next time, this is Damien with 9to5 Google saying thanks for watching, and I will speak to you later.